Mission to explore Nepal.
पर्यटन क्षेत्रका विभिन्न विषयवस्तुमा केन्द्रित भई सञ्चालन हुँदै आएको भर्चुअल संवाद टुरिज्म डायलगको यो नवौं श्रृङ्खलामा यहाँहरू सम्पूर्णलाई नमस्कार। कार्यक्रममा सम्पूर्ण आयोजक संस्थाका तर्फबाट म प्रोग्राम मोडरेटर चिरञ्जीवी बराल यहाँहरूलाई स्वागत गर्दछु। पर्यटन व्यवसाय फरक किसिमले गर्ने भन्ने विषय आजको थीम हो। म सबैभन्दा पहिला सोनिया मियाहाराज्यूलाई प्रस्तुतिको लागि आग्रह गर्दछु। सोनिया मियाहाराको छोटो विवरण प्रस्तुत गर्नुपर्दा सोनिया मियाहारा काठमाडौँमा जन्मिनु भएको र उहाँले कक्षा 12 सम्मको अध्ययन दिल्लीबाट सम्पन्न गर्नुभएको थियो। त्यसपछि अमेरिकाको ब्रान्डिस युनिभर्सिटीमा इकोनोमिक्स इन्टरनेसनल बिजनेस एन्ड इस्ट एसियन स्टडिजमा अध्ययन गर्नुभयो। त्यसपछि लन्डनको लन्डन स्कुल अफ इकोनोमिक्स एन्ड पोलिटिकल साइन्सबाट मास्टर्स गर्नुभयो। मास्टर्स सकिएपछि अध्ययन सकिएपछि उहाँ लगत्तै नेपाल फर्किन चाहनुहुन्थ्यो, तर नेपाल जानुभन्दा पहिला विदेशमा कामको अनुभव लिएर जानु राम्रो हुन्छ भनी सोनियाजीको बुवाले सल्लाह दिएकोले जापानको फाइनेन्सियल इन्फर्मेसन सर्भिस कम्पनी नामको मल्टिनेसनल कम्पनीमा 3.5 वर्ष र सिङ्गापुरमा सोही कम्पनीको सिङ्गापुर शाखामा 4 वर्ष काम गरिसक्नुभयो। र त्यसपछि नेपाल आएपछि उहाँले बुवाले गर्दै आएको पर्यटन क्षेत्रको काममा संलग्न हुनुभयो। अहिले उहाँ काठमाडौँको ट्रान्स हिमालयन टुर्स र जापानको हिमालयन कान्तो काइहात्सु कम्पनीको म्यानेजिङ डाइरेक्टर हुनुहुन्छ। उहाँका बुवा ताकासी मियाहाराको 85 वर्षको उमेरमा सन् 19 को नोभेम्बरमा निधन भएको थियो। उहाँ ताकासी मियाहारा सन् 1962 मा नेपाल आई यतैको नागरिक भई यतै बिहा गरी बस्नु भएको थियो। सोनिया अहिले बुवाको 1975 मा स्याम्बोचेको 3880 मिटरको उचाइमा स्थापना गरेको होटल एभरेस्ट भ्यूको विरासतलाई निरन्तरता दिन लागि पर्नु भएको छ र अन्तर्राष्ट्रिय बजारमा नेपालको पर्यटन क्षेत्रको प्रवर्धनमा लागिरहनु भएको छ। आज सोनिया मियाहाराज्यूले पर्यटन क्षेत्रमा बुवाले गरेका कामको सेरोफेरोमा रही प्रस्तुति गर्नुहुनेछ। म सोनिया मियाहाराज्यूलाई आफ्नो प्रस्तुति राखिदिनु हुन अनुरोध गर्दछु। ओभर टु यू सोनियाजी।
धन्यवाद चिरञ्जीवीजी for your introduction. मैले चाहिँ नि यो प्रेजेन्टेसन इंग्लिशमै तयार गरेको हुनाले I hope you all don't mind. I'm just going to start sharing the screen right now. So basically, आज चाहिँ नि म मेरो बुवा ताकासी मियाहाराको नेपालको पर्यटन क्षेत्रमा गरेको कन्ट्रिब्युसनको बारेमा बोल्न जाँदैछु। So बुवाको brief backgroundबाट स्टार्ट गर्न चाहन्छु। So my father, Takashi Miyahara, he was born in Nagano Prefecture in 1934. So this was even before World War II. He was born into a family that used to run hot springs in Nagano. So you could say that he was born into the tourism sector, hospitality sector. His father was also the village mayor, and he was the second of 5 siblings. So he basically grew up in the Nagano area, surrounded by mountains and rivers. He studied mechanical engineering and chemical engineering from Nihon University in Japan, in Tokyo, and this is also where he joined the university's Alpine Club, as he was interested to climb mountains from a young age. He later joined Japan's Antarctic Research Expedition in 1959 when he was 25 years old. And he always used to say that this expedition changed the course of his life, because he then realized that he would not be satisfied with a normal 9-to-5 job, that, you know, he really had this desire in him to keep on challenging himself and, you know, thrive in conditions that were difficult. He also then led Japan's first Greenland expedition in 1965 to climb Mount Forel. And actually his first visit to Nepal was in 1962 when he was around 28 years old. He had come with his university's Alpine Club to climb Mukut Himal in Western Nepal. So after successfully climbing that mountain, you know, his visit to Nepal left a very deep impression on him. So he fell in love with Nepal, you know, with the beautiful scenery, the Himalayas, and of course the warm-hearted people here. So he wanted to come back and to do something for this country, even though at that time he did not know what exactly that would be. And, you know, he went back to Japan, but he left his job And he came back to Nepal in 1966 without any job prospects or without any background whatsoever. But he managed to secure himself a job at Nepal's Department of Cottage Industry, where he worked for about 2 years. So in this position, he worked with small scale, medium scale manufacturing companies and textile companies. And he realized that with the cheap imports coming in from India, it would be very difficult for Nepal to compete in this sector. And he really thought that, the way to promote Nepal and for the way for Nepal to stand out would be in the tourism industry. So now going into how he built Hotel Everest View and Shangboche airstrip. So actually, he didn't go to the Everest region as soon as he came to Nepal. His first visit to the Everest region was in 1968. He was there to rescue his friend, so he had just come by helicopter, and he decided to trek around that area. And when he was at Tengboche Monastery, he got bitten by the Tibetan Mastiff dogs there. So they had to treat him. So he then went to the nearby Kunde Clinic, which was set up by Sir Edmund Hillary. And he got talking with the New Zealand doctor there called Dr. McKinnon. And my father talked about his desire to perhaps, go into the tourism hospitality business here and perhaps build a hotel. And it was actually Dr. McKinnon who showed my father the spot where Hotel Everest View is currently built and also where the Shangboche airstrip is. So as soon as my father saw that spot on top of a ridge in Shangboche, he knew that he had to build a hotel there. So as soon as he got back to Kathmandu from the Everest side, he really basically got started on this project. And with the help of his friends from many different alpine clubs in Japan, with the help of Nepal government and his friends in Nepal, he was able to start the construction of Hotel Everest View in the late 1960s. So this hotel was built in the late 1960s, and it was first opened for guests in 1971. So actually this year, 2021, is the 50th anniversary of Hotel Everest View. And it's been on the Guinness Book of World Records as the highest hotel in the world in 2004. And it has a view of Mount Everest from all 12 rooms. So because, this was a pioneer in promoting the hospitality industry in the Everest region, my father really wanted to make sure that he would set a good example for the other lodges and hotels that would be built later on, because he knew that Everest would become a tourist hotspot, which obviously it currently is right now. So from the very beginning, he really emphasized working with the local people there, making sure that he had their support, making sure that they also benefited from the project, and setting a good example so that, there's a very good example of how high-end tourism should be in the high Himalayas. So after building the hotel, he realized that he needed to also have an airstrip nearby so that the guests could come a bit more easier. So he then went on to construct the Shangboche airstrip, which is about 30 minutes below the hotel. And this was completed in 1973 with the help of Nepal government as well. So before, the small Platus Porter aircraft, which carried seven packs, used to fly there. And he also acquired some land in Chumwa, which is about 4 or 5 hours above Lukla. And he and his friends had started experimental and organic farm there. So it was the first of its kind as well. And it has been said that it is from that experimental farm in Chumwa that the green vegetables spread into Khumbu region. So vegetables such as cabbages, our normal sag, tarkari, and tomatoes. So now I just wanted to show you all some of the old pictures from the late 1960s when Hotel Everest View was being constructed. As you can see, it took a lot of manpower, a lot of, cutting the stones, but he was very careful not to disrupt the environment. So he was very careful not to cut many trees around it. So it is left as it is. And there's even a big boulder in the middle of the hotel because he basically built the hotel around these huge stones. And it was very important to him to have a hotel that harmonized with the nature and that did not distract the nature in any way. And on your top right-hand side, you would see SYANGBOCHE airstrip with the Plateau's Porter landing, and that's Mount Kamserku on the background. And the bottom picture is of Hotel Everest view with Mount Everest, Lhotse, Notse, Amadablam in the background from 1971. So in order to support the project of Hotel Everest View, he established Himalaya Kanko Kaihatsu, a company in Japan in 1969. So initially it acted as an investment company for the hotel, and its purpose was to contribute to the development of Nepal through tourism development in the Himalayas, which is exactly what it did. And we had been a pioneer in introducing trekking in Nepal to the Japanese market from the early 1970s. And throughout the years, Himalaya Kanko Kaihatsu has been involved in numerous projects to promote Nepal in Japan. And we currently have offices in Tokyo and Osaka. So as you can see from the picture, my father just loved, entertaining his guests, trekking with the guests himself. And he used to love inviting the guests over for dinner after their trip to the mountains. And he would actually do most of the cooking himself as well. And he just really enjoyed spending time with his guests. And in Kathmandu, in 1968, he established Trans-Himalayan Tours, which is one of the oldest travel agencies in Nepal as well. It's a sister company to Himalaya Kanko Kaihatsu, so we mostly used to handle Japanese guests coming in from our Japan offices, but now we handle guests from all over the world as well. And a few years later, Trans-Himalayan Trekking was also founded, and also Trans-Himalayan Tours became the general sales agent for Japan Airlines in the 1980s when Japan Airlines was still flying into Nepal. Our office is now the sales representative of Overseas Courier Service of Japan, which is basically like FedEx and DHL, just that they are headquartered in Japan. And Trans-Himalayan Trekking and Trans-Himalayan Tour both still exist today, and we cater to trekking and tours all over Nepal. So after a few years, my father realized that he needed to create a base in Kathmandu to support his guests who would then travel to the Himalayas or to other cities and then come back to Kathmandu for their flight back to their home country. So in 1987, he opened Hotel Himalaya, which is a 4-star property in Lalitpur, Patan. So he collaborated with Mitsui Fudosan, which is a big real estate company in Japan. So this was the first full-scale Japanese foreign direct investment in tourism in Nepal. So my father loved being involved from the very beginning of any projects. He loved starting new things. So he was heavily involved in the construction phase. And once the hotel was completed, he became the managing director of the hotel for several years. But with the difficulty during the Maoist insurgency, they decided to sell the hotel to Nepali investors. So they are the ones who are looking over it now. So after around 40 years of working in Nepal and working in tourism, my father felt that there still wasn't enough of the change that he had wanted for Nepal. And there's still a very big lack of economic development in Nepal. And he realized to make the changes, you have to change from the top. So he decided to change his citizenship from Japanese to Nepali, whereas most people would want to do the opposite. Then he established Nepal National Development Party in 2006. So he created a manifesto entitled Aiming at the Building of a Prosperous Nation. So these included big ideas for Nepal's development, such as creating the East-West Railway with North-South branches, development of tourism products, such as dam lakes on the Koshi, Gandaki, and Karnali rivers, so that you could have boating for tourism, and creating cable cars for hilltop resorts, etc. And he really propagated the idea of shifting the capital from Kathmandu to Narangat, because Kathmandu is geographically isolated. It is obviously already overpopulated, and the air and water pollution is already at hazardous levels. So Nayankhat is more centrally located to be the capital of Nepal. But unfortunately, this party did not really win any seats, so it kind of sizzled out over the years. My father had no desire to become the next prime minister or anything of that sort. He created this party to try to motivate the youths of Nepal to go into politics, to make the changes themselves, to basically, fight for the changes that they want in their countries by themselves. But this didn't really end up happening. Then a few years later, he worked on creating another high-end resort in Sarangkot, Pokhara. And he started this project with the aim of building one of the most iconic hotels in the world, leading up with a cable car. So he'd wanted to build a resort in Sarangkot for a very long time. But, I guess with everything that was happening, it just took some time to actually get started. So right now, the resort is somewhat basically completed. I mean, as you can see from the pictures, it has magnificent views of Machu Picchu and the Annapurna range, and the view from all the rooms are spectacular. It is really a great, great property. And he also worked on building a cable car from Sedi, so it's near the lakeside in Pokhara, to Sarangkot. And had it not been for the pandemic, the cable car project would have already been completed. But because of the pandemic, there's a delay, but it is still scheduled to be completed this year. Both projects are currently managed by their respective major investors. Unfortunately, my father couldn't see through the completion to the very end, but he was the one who initiated both these projects. So I think that, when we talk about my father's contributions, it is also important to understand how he was as a person and, what his philosophy was, so that hopefully it can inspire some of those people who are listening right now. So he really believed in acting first and thinking later. So he would always do something first and then try to solve whatever problem came along the way. Then he really epitomized simple living, high thinking. Like, he was basically the simplest man you would have ever met. He didn't care about the clothes that he was wearing. He didn't care about his car. He rode the same Toyota Corolla for 25 years. He doesn't care about what he's eating. He's the type that used to think that, having too much material possessions clutters your mind. So to be able to have good ideas and high level ideas, and to be able to actually implement them, you just have to have a very simple surrounding so that you can focus on the things that needs to be done. And as you can see from the things that he has accomplished in his life, he was always interested to do what had never been done before. So he was basically an entrepreneur from head to toe. He created economic opportunities for the locals to rise themselves, and he really believed in development through tourism, and he did not support foreign aid because he thought that it made people lazy and it made people complacent. Perhaps also because he was Japanese, he had a very deep sense of gratitude to those who had helped him. He was very loyal to those people who had supported him throughout the years. And I think this is also why he worked so hard till the very end, because he felt that it was his duty to do the best that he could do until the very end. So he was a man who was guided by extraordinary vision, passion, and just sheer determination. And he was able to integrate business and adventure. So, he was an adventurer and explorer at heart. So he was able to combine the things that motivated him to the things that would create economic value. And he always looked for a challenge. He would always tell me that if there were two paths in life leading to the same goal, always take the one that is more complicated and more roundabout, as you will obviously learn more from that one. So in conclusion, Miyahara's, my father's contribution was not for personal enrichment, but to augment the society in which he worked. And, even when times got tough, he would have the courage to do what needs to be done, even if he was the only one left standing alone. And with my father's passing and with all the condolences and everything that came after that, and all the support that I have received even after my father is no longer with us, I think that, if you're able to impact the world around you, you will never be forgotten, because, he made such a big impact to the lives of so many people that somehow his memory and what he has done will always live on. And as his daughter, I just hope to be able to continue his legacy and to continue to work in Nepal's tourism sector. Thank you very much.
Thank you, Sonia ji. धन्यवाद सोनिया म्याम. यहाँले पर्यटन क्षेत्रमा बुवाले गरेका पृथक शैलीका कामहरुबारे, इनोभेटिभली उहाँले गर्नुभएका कामहरुबारे हामीलाई जानकारी प्रदान गर्नुभयो. हामीले यसबारे थाहा पाउने अवसर पायौं. यो उहाँप्रतिको लेट मियाहारा प्रतिको यो सम्मानको र ट्रिब्युट पनि हो, आजको यो अवसर हो. अब म आजका अर्का प्रस्तुता राजन शाक्यज्यूलाई प्रस्तुतिका लागि अनुरोध गर्दछु. राजन शाक्य 1995 देखि टुरिज्म सेक्टरमा संलग्न हुनुहुन्छ. उहाँ कर्ण शाक्य चर्चित पर्यटन व्यवसायी, लेखक, मोटिभेशनल स्पिकर, उहाँका विभिन्न नामहरूले पुकार्न सकिन्छ, परिचय छन्. उहाँको सुपुत्र हुनुहुन्छ. राजनजी केजीएच ग्रुप, काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस ग्रुपको सिइओ पनि हुनुहुन्छ र काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस ग्रुपमा, केजीएच ग्रुपमा काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस लगायत पोखरा, चितवन र लुम्बिनीमा गरी 7 वटा होटलहरू छन्. केजीएच ग्रुप वातावरणीय प्रभाव मूल्याङ्कनका आधारमा सर्टिफाइड होटल पनि हो. उहाँका 3 वटा ट्राभल एजेन्सीहरू पनि सञ्चालनमा छन्. उहाँ यस अतिरिक्त राजनजी म्युजियम अफ नेपाली आर्ट्स मोना को फाउन्डर पनि हुनुहुन्छ. यो प्राइभेट सेक्टरको पहिलो म्युजियम हो भनेर भन्नुहुन्छ र यो पब्लिकका लागि ओपन छ. राजनजीले इन्डिया, नेपाल र युएसए मा गरी यी 3टा देशहरूबाट शिक्षा प्राप्त गर्नुभएको छ. म राजनजीलाई आफ्नो प्रस्तुतिको लागि आग्रह गर्दछु. Rajanji, over to you.
The topic of the program is doing tourism business differently. So I want to first share why this itself is so important. There are a lot of students, a lot of young people trying to look for inspirations to do business, especially some of the difficult time. So many people are confused. Videshma gaye pani problems, Swadeshma pani problems. First of all, I want to tackle the issue of why tourism business and differently than garni and kina important from my experiences. Of course, my experiences is so much less than other people, other formal Bible. Tartes weapons any your topic one thing that I want to not change the topic is maybe it's not about doing business differently. It's about actually evolving your business so that you can sustain. यदि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ आज चाहिँ एउटा नयाँ बिजनेस गर्यो भने चाहिँ भोलि त्यो नयाँ हुँदैन, त्यो पुरानो भइसकेको हुन्छ. इट्स नट अबाउट एकचोटी चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ नयाँ बिजनेस गर्यो अनि त्यो सकायो भनेको चीज दैट इज नट व्हाट इट इज. सो भोलिको लागि चाहिँ हामी कसरी प्रिपेयर हुने हो भनेको चाहिँ दैट इज द इम्पोर्टेन्ट पार्ट इफ यू वान्ट टु टक अबाउट सस्टेनेबिलिटी अफ योर बिजनेस, बिकज यू आर डुइङ बिजनेस टु सक्सिड. You are doing business to make a certain change amongst yourself. You are doing business to change your environment, your community, your country. त्यसले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ आफ्नो बिजनेसलाई सस्टेन गर्नको लागि चाहिँ what is the most important factor is not doing it differently but evolving with time. So that किन भन्छ नि today is the perfect example. We are living in a pandemic. Nobody in their wildest imagination ever thought that a day like this will ever come. I mean, like, I never thought. I've been in business for 28 years. I have survived civil war, earthquake, whatever we have survived in the past 27 years, we have survived. But even we never thought that, oh, it is some when pandemic hit and we are trying to survive at this time, if you are not evolving right now, that means after a couple of months, your business will close down. So, your evolution like adapt garne, and that is, I think, one of the most important aspects of any kind of business sustainability. Anthony, whenever we try to do something different and whenever we try to evolve, the good thing is that if you are किनभने चाहिँ बिजनेस चाहिँ हामीले गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ किनभने चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ फलो गर्नु पर्यो अरूहरूको चाहिँ बिजनेस कसरी गरिरहेछ भनेर चाहिँ नभए फलो गर्नु पर्यो किनभने चाहिँ हामीले आफ्नो दिमागलाई चलाएर चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ अहिलेको इन्भाइरोमेन्टलाई चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ स्टडी गरेर चाहिँ कसरी इभल्भ गर्ने भनेको चाहिँ त्यो चिज चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ सोच्नुपर्छ फलो गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ प्रब्लम चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के हुन्छ भने चाहिँ नि you follow blindly. That means you are following the mistakes as well as the successes. So you are just following. So that's why when we say we evolve, we should spend enough time to study our environments, to study our competition, to study what is exactly happening. Business गर्ने चाहिँ तरिका एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्छ नि अरूले कसरी चाहिँ राम्रो गरिरहेछ भन्छ नि म पनि त्यही गर्छु भन्दैमा चाहिँ that you see so many times and that अनि हामीले चाहिँ त्यो बिजनेस चाहिँ मेरो बिजनेस चाहिँ फेल भयो त्यो बिजनेस चाहिँ किन सक्सेस भयो भनेर चाहिँ एनालाइज गर्दा गर्दा नि चाहिँ इट्स अलरेडी टु लेट because we already have lost so much money. भनिसकेपछि नेपालमा चाहिँ नि I see a lot of people, a lot of businesses, होटलदेखि लिएर रेस्टुरेन्टहरुदेखि लिएर चाहिँ एउटा काट्ने के सोच या चाहिँ द्वारिकाज या चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ एभरेस्ट होटलले चाहिँ यस्तो गरेर चाहिँ हामी पनि गर्छु अब पैसा चाहिँ तन्न ल्याएर चाहिँ खर्च गरिदिन्छ they survive for 1-2 years then after that then they have no idea why their business is failed because they are not evolving, they are just copying. This कारण चाहिँ नि if there are any people in this platform who are listening to what I have to say is not I'm suggesting, it's just I'm sharing my experiences in the past 27 years of this. Nepal business is not easy. I mean, I can be more successful, more faster in the US or anywhere in the world than in Nepal because Nepal's environment is so unstable in every aspect. एउटा चाहिँ सानो चिज चाहिँ इन्डियामा हुँदाखेरि नेपालमा इफेक्ट हुने एउटा सानो चिज चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ कहाँ हुँदाखेरि we get affected because we are so interdependent on our surroundings. भनेपछि हामीले चाहिँ आफ्नो सराउन्डिङ्सहरुलाई चाहिँ स्टडी नगरिकन एनालाइज नगरिकन त्यसै मात्रै चाहिँ पैसा फालेर चाहिँ बस्दाखेरि चाहिँ that is not the right way to do it. अनि एउटा चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ नि यो टाइमसँग चाहिँ इभल्भ गर्नुपर्ने चाहिँ कारण एउटा चाहिँ कस्तो हुन्छ लाइक for an example, Kathmandu Guest House started back in 1968 with 4 rooms. I mean, like most of the people in the tourism industry knows about this story, but I'm just telling if there are some new listeners. We started with 4 rooms. At that time, Nepal tourism was maybe about 6,000 or 7,000 people. But after 52 years, we have been able to do so many new things. We made changes, and today, Kathmandu Guest House is still here surviving, and we hope that we will survive for another 50 years to come. र चाहिँ नि अहिले चाहिँ नि तपाईको चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ यो doing tourism business differently को चाहिँ नि if you come to the topic what I'm trying to say is अहिले चाहिँ तपाई चाहिँ ठमलमा आउनु भयो भने चाहिँ नि there are over 150 hotels 150 hotels within the square kilometer of तपाईको 1.5 square kilometer को चाहिँ नि वर्गमा चाहिँ नि 150 hotels हरु छ and the new hotels are so beautiful. It really is. Because people have spent a lot of money. अहिले चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ अब they are like architectsहरुदेखि बाहिरदेखि लिएर चाहिँ सबैजना आइरहेको हुन्छ तर चाहिँ अब यस्तो चाहिँ इन्भाइरोमेन्टमा पनि चाहिँ अब हामी काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस भएर चाहिँ म कसरी सर्भाइभ गर्ने जहिले पनि चाहिँ बुवाको चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ फेम मात्रै लिएर काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउसमा चाहिँ 1960 मा चाहिँ बिटल्सहरु मात्रै बस्न आएर भन्ने चाहिँ त्यो मात्रै कुरा गरेर चाहिँ मान्छेहरु त यहाँ आउनेवाला त छैन भनेपछि we need to do something out of the box, we need to do something differently भन्नाले चाहिँ नि अनि चाहिँ नि even after 52 years of opening the business we are still evolving. So what we did was I tried to do something really different that not only benefits my hotel, that not only benefits my company but benefits Nepal as a country. Then we decided मेरो introduction मा चाहिँ नि Chiranjivi Baral, I'm also the founder of MONA, which is Museum of Nepali Art. So Museum of Nepali Art, I made it inside the Kathmandu Guest House. So this is most probably Nepal ko Chinese first museum, private museum ho Rachani and not only Nepal first private museum I think Austin Chani Mari study garda ke chani sangsar bhari there are only 7 hotels in the world that has a museum inside the hotel. So I wanted to do something really different not only to help my hotel but to help the Nepalese society as a whole. किनभने चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ नि अहिले चाहिँ नि काठमाडौँको चाहिँ काठमाडौँ शहरमा या चाहिँ कुनै पनि चाहिँ नि हामी चाहिँ मन्दिरहरुमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि हाम्रो मन्दिरको चाहिँ नि स्थिति देख्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि you feel sorry for yourself. र यदि चाहिँ नि यदि हाम्रो चाहिँ मन्दिरहरुलाई चाहिँ नि हाम्रो कल्चरलाई हाम्रो हेरिटेजलाई यदि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ सस्टेन गरेन भने भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि नेपालीपन भनेको नि हराउनेवाला छ। किनभने चाहिँ आज पनि चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ नि हरेक नेपालीको घरमा गयो भने चाहिँ नि एउटा या दुईजना चाहिँ बच्चाहरू या चाहिँ त्यो घरको कुनै परिवारहरू चाहिँ अलि चाहिँ विदेशमा छ भनेपछि चाहिँ 15-20 वर्षपछि चाहिँ जो चाहिँ युनिभर्सिटी चाहिँ विदेशबाट इन्फ्लुएन्स भइसकेपछि हाम्रो नेपाली कल्चर हाम्रो नेपालीपन भनेको के हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ people are going to forget. So the importance of a museum के चाहिँ नि मान्छेहरुले चाहिँ यो म्युजियममा आएर चाहिँ नि म्युजियमको चाहिँ एक्जिबिसन मात्रै हेर्ने होइन कि चाहिँ नि भोलि गएर चाहिँ नि उनीहरुले चाहिँ एउटा मन्दिरमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ ए एउटा चाहिँ नि सानो होटलले चाहिँ नि एउटा म्युजियम बनाएर चाहिँ नि यस्तो राम्रो गर्न सक्छ भने चाहिँ हामीले पनि आफ्नो मन्दिरहरु आफ्नो चाहिँ नि मोनास्ट्रीजहरुलाई पनि चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ यतिकै हामीले चाहिँ गर्नुपर्छ भनेको चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ सानो एक्जाम्पलको रूपमा चाहिँ नि मैले चाहिँ बनाउने कोसिस गरेको छु. So being a small businessman, this is what I can do. I cannot go into politics and try to change the system. But what I can do is I can give positive examples to our society that things can be done. Not only like sitting down in my office and complaining about the system and complaining about the virus. So this has given me a lot of energy to not only better myself as a person, but also to better my society and to better my country. When I go introduce myself as Rajan Shakya, of course, I do say that I am the CEO of KGH, but I also say that I am also the director of a museum. You do get a lot of respect because you are not only here doing a business, you are not only here trying to sustain your family or not only trying to be here to make money, but you are trying to do something about your culture, your heritage, and the importance of it. And why our past, why our history is so important. Because we have a history. And tomorrow is there because we are going to follow our lessons from the history. Not the history, it is like going inside a dark room where there is no light. Even if you look at the pandemic right now, coronavirus pandemic vaccine was all because they studied 1918 Spanish flu, and it helped them. And that is what is future past you are going blindfolded. So you नेपालीपन भनेको के हो र भनेर चाहिँ सोध्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ नि बिलिभ गरेको कल्चर हामीले चाहिँ हेरेको आर्टलाई नै चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ नेपालीपनमा चाहिँ ढालिएको हो भनेर भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ इट इज सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट टु अन्डरस्ट्यान्ड एभ्री एस्पेक्ट अफ आवरसेल्भ्स सो दैट भोलि चाहिँ गएर चाहिँ नि नेपाली भनेको चाहिँ के हो एउटा देश मात्रै होइन कि चाहिँ एउटा इन्डिया र चाइना बीचमा देश मात्रै होइन कि चाहिँ वी हैव अ सेपरेट आइडेन्टिटी वी आर स्पेशल सो इट्स नट ओन्ली हेल्प्स in doing business for my hotels. It's like even anybody goes to market. हामी चाहिँ विदेशीहरुलाई चाहिँ नेपालमा आऊ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ उनलाई हेर्न आऊ भने के हो हैन मेन त भाषा चाहिँ हाम्रो नेपाली हो नि हाम्रो चाहिँ कल्चर हाम्रो हेरिटेज दैट इज व्हाई दे वान्ट टु कम टु आवर कन्ट्री भनेपछि अरुको चाहिँ 15-20 वर्षमा चाहिँ यही नै भएन भने चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ विदेशीहरुलाई चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ के हेर्न आऊ भन्ने. So that is the question that was raised inside me, and luckily because of my dad's name, because of the hard work that we have put in, we have been able to sustain this far. If we want our country to sustain even further, not only ourselves, but further, I think this was a very important step that me and my family took. And then we actually opened up this museum after the pandemic सुरु भएको टाइममै खोलेको थियो के मैले अनि चाहिँ धेरै जना मेरो even my family मेरो फ्रेन्ड्सहरुले चाहिँ अब यस्तो पेन्डेमिकमा चाहिँ को आउँछ र तिमी कहाँ यस्तो को आउँछ भन्ने that was always the criticism, and I said like it doesn't matter. अनि चाहिँ मैले चाहिँ नि योभन्दा अगाडि चाहिँ अर्को एउटा प्रोग्राममा पनि चाहिँ नि सो दिस टाइम मैले चाहिँ कसरी चाहिँ युटिलाइज गरेँ भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि आई एक्चुली अब यो पेन्डेमिक भएको चाहिँ 1 वर्ष भयो तर चाहिँ मैले चाहिँ यो 1 वर्षमा चाहिँ मैले चाहिँ 3 वर्षको काम गरेँ किनभने चाहिँ नि अरू कुनै काम थिएन दिनको 18 घण्टा काम गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ इट वाज लाइक वर्किङ फर 3 years so I'm very lucky that I am safe. I'm very lucky that I'm healthy. I'm very lucky that all my family members are very healthy and they've inspired me. So I really got this opportunity to do something really different. This normal time because we would be so busy with so many other work. So it really got me to be creative. It really got me to be to think out of the box. कि चाहिँ अब चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ टुरिज्मलाई कसरी अगाडि लाग्ने र चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ होटललाई किनभने इट लुक्स लाइक चाहिँ अर्को चाहिँ 2 वर्षसम्म पनि चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ टुरिज्म त्यति राम्रो चाहिँ पिकअप नहोला तर एटलिस्ट चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ वी सेट एन एक्जाम्पल कि चाहिँ यस्तो चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ नेगेटिभ डिप्रेसिभ सिचुएसनमा पनि चाहिँ नेपालमा चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ यस्तो चीज आयो. So it becomes not only an inspiration to yourself, but it also inspires other people to do something. र चाहिँ यस्तो टाइममा पनि चाहिँ के नयाँ चीजहरु गर्न सकिन्छ एउटा के डिफरेन्ट चीजहरु गर्न सकिन्छ. सो म्युजियमको एक्जाम्पल एउटा चाहिँ के थियो भने चाहिँ नि it was part of the evolution of the KGS group. कि चाहिँ नि भोलि चाहिँ नि अब KGS ले भनेको चाहिँ नि अब बिजनेसलाई चाहिँ अब म तपाईलाई सुरुवातमा मैले भनेको थिएँ बिजनेसलाई चाहिँ सस्टेन गर्नको लागि चाहिँ नि वी नीड टु इभल्भ भनेपछि भोलि चाहिँ नि अब काठमाडौँ गेस्टमा आउँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि या चाहिँ KGS ग्रुप कुनै पनि होटलमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ नि आउने मान्छेहरु चाहिँ फेरि आउनको लागि चाहिँ त्यसमा चाहिँ के डिफरेन्ट भइराख्नु पर्छ के चेन्जेसहरु आइराख्नु पर्छ. सो द इम्पोर्टेन्स इज नट बिजनेस सुरुवात गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ डिफरेन्ट होइन कि बिजनेस सुरुवात भइसकेपछि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ डिफरेन्ट चीजहरु चाहिँ एभोल्युसनलाई चाहिँ अडप्ट गरेर चाहिँ वी शुड बी एबल टु डु बिजनेस भन्ने चाहिँ दैट इज एक्चुअली व्हाट आई वुड लाइक टु रियली पुट फरवर्ड इन दिस एस्पेक्ट. र चाहिँ तपाईले चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ इफ यु आर लुकिङ एट द स्क्रिन दैट इज वन सेक्सन अफ द म्युजियम. र चाहिँ नि अब यो म्युजियमको चाहिँ नि अब तपाईहरुलाई चाहिँ अलिकति चाहिँ ब्रिफली भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ नि हामीहरु नेपाली मान्छे भइसकेपछि चाहिँ हामीहरु कति मन्दिरहरुमा जान्छौं पूजा गर्छौं धेरै चीजहरु गर्छौं तर हामीले चाहिँ नि त्यो मन्दिर भएको चाहिँ नि मन्दिर भित्र भएको चाहिँ नि देवता कस्तो छ भनेर पनि चाहिँ हामीले चाहिँ हेर्न चाहदैनौं या चाहिँ हेर्ने समय हुँदैन भनेपछि चाहिँ वी आर फलोइङ रिलिजन सो ब्लाइन्डली किनभने भोलि चाहिँ हिजोसम्म चाहिँ आफ्नो चाहिँ बाउ बाजेले यो पूजा गर्नुपर्छ है भनेर भन्यो पूजा गर्यो न बुझेको छ न जानेको छ भनिसकेपछि चाहिँ यु आर गोइङ इन्टु द फ्युचर विथ हाफ द नलेज. एन्ड पहिला के भन्थ्यो भने चाहिँ हाफ द नलेज इज मोर डेन्जरस देन नो नलेज. सो हामीले चाहिँ नि हाम्रो नेपाली भित्रको चाहिँ जुन चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ शक्ति एउटा आउँछ बिकज इट इज बिकज अफ आवर फेथ. अब त्यो फेथलाई चाहिँ त्यो शक्तिलाई चाहिँ हामीले झन् परिपक्व पार्ने कहाँ झन् खुकुलो पारेर चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ फ्युचरमा जाँदाखेरि चाहिँ सो द्याट्स वाइ द म्युजियम इज सो इम्पोर्टेन्ट बिकज इट रिफ्लेक्ट्स अस एज नेपाली. त्यस कारण यो म्युजियममा भएको चाहिँ सबै चाहिँ जति पनि चाहिँ एक्जिबिट छ सो इट इज डन बाई नेपालिज आर्टिस्ट. र चाहिँ नि आज चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ नि when we introduce ourselves as a Nepali हामीले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ सर्टेन एक्जाम्पलहरु दिन्छौं कि चाहिँ नेपाली भनेको को हो भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ शेर्पा हो एउटा चाहिँ गोर्खा हो तर हामीले चाहिँ कहिले पनि चाहिँ नेपाली चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ आर्टिस्ट हो भनेर चाहिँ हामीले कहिले पनि चाहिँ वी नेभर इंट्रोड्यूस्ड आवरसेल्व्स. तर नेपालीज आर्टिस्ट आर वन अफ द बेस्ट आर्टिस्ट इन द वर्ल्ड. अब यो कुरा थाहा नै भएर नेपाली मान्छे को नेपालको इन्डिया चाइना भने को भने चाहिँ गोर्खाहरु के शेर्पाहरु भने तर हामीसँग यस्तो चीज छ यस्तो आर्ट छ यस्तो आर्टिस्टहरु छ कि चाहिँ अहिले चाहिँ गएर चाहिँ कुनै पनि व्यक्तिलाई चाहिँ एकजना नेपाली आर्टिस्टको नाम भन न भन्दाखेरि चाहिँ थाहै हुँदैन एउटा आर्टिस्टको नाम पनि थाहा छैन. तर चाहिँ उनीहरुले चाहिँ कहिले नगएको चाहिँ देशको चाहिँ फ्रान्सको लन्डनको उनीहरुको चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ लियोनार्डो भिन्ची अनि मोने पिकासो भनेर चाहिँ नाम चाहिँ भन्न आउँछ तर हाम्रो नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरुको चाहिँ नामै भन्न नआउँदाखेरि चाहिँ दिस म्युजियम इज एन इन्ट्रोडक्सन टु द Nepalese people about Nepal and about us. So if you look at the museum. तपाईले चाहिँ नि you get to see Nepalese artists-हरुको चाहिँ नि एउटा चाहिँ evolution, उनीहरु चाहिँ नि हामी चाहिँ नि 100 वर्ष अगाडि या चाहिँ नि तपाईको चाहिँ पुरानो चाहिँ कस्तो गर्थ्यो र अहिले पनि चाहिँ नि हामीले चाहिँ नि यस्तो किसिमको आर्टहरु चाहिँ गर्न सकिरहेको छ र चाहिँ यो म्युजियममा चाहिँ तपाईको एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्छ नि 95% अफ जति पनि चाहिँ नि हाम्रो चाहिँ यहाँ चाहिँ आर्टहरु आर्टिफ्याक्टहरु छ यो अहिले चाहिँ नि तपाईको चाहिँ जीवित आर्टिस्टहरुले चाहिँ गरिरहेको चीज हो अहिले पनि चाहिँ नि हाम्रो चाहिँ पुरानो आर्ट राम्रो छ हैन तर अहिले चाहिँ एउटा चाहिँ के छ भन्छ नि त्यो पुरानो आर्ट राम्रो हुँदाखेरि पनि चाहिँ नि अहिले पनि चाहिँ नि हाम्रो नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरुले चाहिँ त्यतिकै राम्रो काम गरिराखेको छ अघि चाहिँ नि सोनियाले एउटा कुरा के भनेको थियो भन्छ नि कन्टिन्युएसन अफ अ लेगेसी भनेपछि चाहिँ उहाँको बुवाको लेगेसी चाहिँ कन्टिन्यू गर्नको लागि चाहिँ सोनियाले कति ट्राई गरिरहेको छ भनेपछि हामी नेपालीहरुले पनि चाहिँ पुरानो चाहिँ जुन मन्दिरमा भएको देवताहरु चाहिँ बनाएको छ 1000 वर्ष 15 वर्ष 1500 वर्ष अगाडि त्यतिकै राम्रो बनाएको छ तर अहिले पनि चाहिँ हाम्रो नेपालमा चाहिँ नेपाली आर्टिस्टहरुले चाहिँ नि त्यतिकै राम्रो काम गरिरहेको छ भनेको चाहिँ दैट इज द एक्जाम्पल अफ कन्टिन्युएसन अफ लेगेसी किन भन्छ नि यदि चाहिँ आज चाहिँ यदि चाहिँ त्यस्तो आर्टिस्ट नभएको भए भने चाहिँ हाम्रो आर्ट सबै लस हुन्थ्यो हाम्रो कल्चर सबै चाहिँ हराउँथ्यो त्यसकारण चाहिँ नि हाम्रो आर्टिस्टहरुले चाहिँ त्यस्तो पुरानो आर्टहरुलाई लिएर आफ्नो अलिकति चाहिँ नयाँ चाहिँ तपाईको चाहिँ भाव दिएर एन्ड दैट इज वेयर वी से दिस इज वी आर कन्टिन्युइङ आवर लेगेसी र चाहिँ भोलि चाहिँ बुवाले पनि चाहिँ इभन माई फादर वुड बी ह्यापी कि चाहिँ आई हेभ नट ओन्ली टेकन व्हाट ही हैज क्रिएटेड बट आई हेभ एडेड अ लिटल मोर टु मेक इट इभन मोर ब्युटिफुल भनिसकेपछि दैट इज भनिसकेपछि मान्छेहरु भनेको चाहिँ नि आज जन्मिन्छन् भोलि मर्छन् तर लेगेसी भनेको चीज चाहिँ नि इफ यु नो हाउ टु रिटेन इट it will go forever and that is what we want to do because KGS group has been so lucky that we are born in Nepal किनभने हामी नेपालमा जन्मेको थियौं भन्छन् we never had this opportunity so Nepal has given us whatever we have आजसम्म चाहिँ होटल भनोस् बिजनेस भनोस् फ्यामिली भनोस् whatever we have is given to us by Nepal so it has come for the time it's and for us to give back to the society that has given us so much and that is also the continuation and that legacy लाई चाहिँ continuation गर्नको लागि चाहिँ businesses-हरुलाई चाहिँ evolve गरेर लगाउनु पर्छ businesses-हरुलाई चाहिँ हामी चाहिँ change गरेर लगाउनु पर्छ so that the business sustains so that the legacy continues and अब कुरा गरे हुन्छ फेरि धेरै पनि कुरा गर्न सकिन्छ so I think this is what I have to say in regards to today's topic र चाहिँ नि जुन चाहिँ नि तपाईहरुले चाहिँ नि फोटोजहरु हेर्नु भएको छ त्यो चाहिँ नि हामी चाहिँ काठमाडौँ गेस्ट हाउस भित्र भएको म्युजियमको चाहिँ फोटोग्राफ्स हो र चाहिँ नि this museum is open 7 days a week and it is open to everybody of course there is a certain entrance fee that जुन चाहिँ नि कोही पनि मान्छेहरु चाहिँ म्युजियममा जानको लागि चाहिँ certain entrance fee तिर्नु पर्छ so I do hope that that the KGS group sets an example not only to become a better person or not only to become a better family किन भन्छन् आफ्नो परिवार आफुलाई भनेको जसले पनि राम्रो गर्छ के that is not a big thing तर हामीले चाहिँ यो सोसाइटीमा बसिसकेपछि नि हामीले चाहिँ आफ्नो चाहिँ घर भन्दा बाहिर चाहिँ हेल्प गर्दाखेरि चाहिँ and that is the meaning of life that is the meaning of living a successful life and this is what I have to say in regards to today's little talk that I'm doing. And thank you so much, everybody, for listening. And I hope I have been able to make, not inspire, but I have been able to make a certain change in the way people think about themselves, about the society that we live in. And thank you so much, everybody.
धन्यवाद राजन सर यहाँले पर्यटन क्षेत्रलाई फरक ढंगले कसरी सञ्चालन गर्न सकिन्छ भन्ने विषयमा आफ्नै अनुभवमा आधारित रही यहाँले प्रस्तुति गर्नुभयो निकै सान्दर्भिक छ अहिलेको स्थितिमा र इन्स्पिरेसनल पनि छ